Welcome to Americana Archives. Join us today as we go throughout America's historic newspapers to find the lost and forgotten history of America. Today's story comes from the great state of Indiana. It's reported in the Carthage Record on December 3rd, 1897. Today's headline is The Roadster. The subheadline is The Morgan Horse supplies every quality needed for steady travel. It says, a few years since we came to the conclusion that we wanted to embark upon the business of breeding gentlemen's roadsters. The subject was given the most careful consideration and study. We had no foundation stock to begin on, and were not partial to any breed. Markets were carefully studied. The demands of the wealthy Eastern people were looked after, and we found that the horse wanted was first a handsome, stylish animal. If we could get this, we would have no trouble in getting rid of carloads of them at good prices. The second point was a fair degree of speed. The Eastern road rider does not want to take anyone's dust, but he will not sacrifice beauty for speed. We all have heard so much of the 2-minute 4-second, 2-minute 6-second, and 2-minute 10-second that speed has come to mean about that mark. But the pleasant driving horse does not need such a gait. The majority of the people would imagine they were running away at a 2-minute 30-second clip, and in fact, a mile in 3 minutes is as fast as is pleasant on the very best of roads through the country. But for city boulevards, 2-minute 30-second to 2-minute 20-second, and even less, is the time sought for. Having beauty and speed, the next desirable traits were a love for the work, ability to stand any amount of it, and a kind disposition. We now knew what was wanted, and the search for brood stock was begun. Our first visits were to some of the most famous stock farms of Kentucky and Tennessee. I asked the proprietor of one what he drove in his business and when taking his family out. "Oh," said he, "I keep a pair of Morgans for that, and if you were after a road horse, you don't want a Wilkes, Hambletonian, or any fashionably bred trotter. They're not built that way. There's no rivalry between the trotter and road horse. The former has been bred and trained to draw a light vehicle at a high rate of speed, and that should be and is all he can do satisfactorily. The question now was, is there a family of horses that have been specially bred and educated for the road? We found there was, and that it was distinctly an American breed. The Morgan horse is famous the world over for his good qualities, chief of which is his roading capacity. In the year 1789, there was foaled a colt that was named Justin Morgan, which became the head of this grand family. In this family are to be found all the qualities necessary to the ideal road horse. In point of beauty, they have no rival, unless it be the thoroughbred. Their style is without parallel. While they are extremely spirited, they are as docile when kindly treated as the Arab horse. It has always been the proud boast of the lovers of the Morgan horse that he could outwalk, outpull, outstyle, and outtrot any horse on earth. This is a pretty broad assertion, but when we read his history, it is not hard to believe. As each of the popular Morgan sires became famous, they were constantly contesting with each other for championship as trotters, walkers, pullers, and long-distance roadsters. There is no longer any doubt that acquired characteristics are transmissible, and this spirit of emulation is characteristic of almost every living Morgan today. It is this very spirit that makes him an ideal road horse. From being so long the only horse bred in Vermont, the Morgan was used as an all or general purpose horse and stands preeminent as such through the more than 100 years of his existence. His value was such that he was treated as one of the family, and in those days, the man who owned a pair of good mares was considered wealthy. From his close association with man, he became almost as intelligent. A teamster owned 6 stallions, all from the same sire. He hauled flour a distance of 60 miles, and on his road home, he would invariably get drunk by stopping along the way for an occasional dram. The last stop was 30 miles from home, and here he would take a long pull at the bottle, tie up the lines, lie down in the wagon, and cluck to the horses to go. Almost the entire distance was along a dug road up and down the mountainside, and those horses took the beast of a man home safely, not once or twice, but every week for years. And my informer, who was a near neighbor of this man, said in all that time, that team was neither 1/2 hour ahead or behind the time an expert driver could have put them there. Those stallions would pull up to the barn and each one neigh loudly, when the sons of the family would come out and give them their breakfast, for they invariably got home between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. As years rolled by, heavier horses took the place of the Morgan for heavy draft. Fast horses came into fashion, and while the Morgan was the speediest horse at that time, yet the Vermonters were quite conservative and did not care to sacrifice general utility for speed. The Hambletonians and their descendants became the fashionable track horse. So we have seen the Morgan beaten for size and weight and for extreme speed. But they have no rival, much less equal, for all that goes to make a beautiful, pleasant, courageous, sound, long-lived roadster. This article was written by Mrs. W. W. Stevens in National Stockman. Thank you for joining us today. Remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.